I might start with your from your room, Anita. Would you be able to share with us what you guys had discussed?
Yeah, so I was with Evelyn and Mark. So I suppose I took over. Really, I took over talking about it. Mine was basically an individual. She's a spiritual healer, and I just loved that she sells herself through that service. So she's really very personable. Practices what she preaches and is very authentic, I think was one of the words that was used. She also is very professional. Has her, would, as I said, practice what she preaches. She also, I done a course with her, and I found this really interesting, that until the search was handed over, she kind of she waited on the feedback and waited on the testimonials before she handed over the finished piece, which then she used for her own marketing, which is brilliant. I thought that was amazing the way she did that. So I really admired that. A couple of other things that Evelyn said, that she was talking about a gym. She was saying that it was reasonably priced, that the staff put you at ease. Again, authentic. What else? Professional again. So all them kind of things were really what we got to.
Okay, lovely. That's great. Thanks a million, Anita. Brilliant. Kate, what about for your room?
Yeah, we talked about a few different businesses, but as soon as you said Happy Pear, we found it hard to think of any other business except Happy Pear. But we were kind of thinking along the lines of like a small Irish kind of business. We were saying it's really valuable when you have kind of a face of the company, whether it's on social media or whatever. Actually a good example that Teresa gave was when Super Quinn before it was Super Value, like Mr. Quinn was, just very well known, and I think it comes across well when you kind of know the owner of the business, know what values of the business, them coming across and what the business does kind of at every step of the way. Talking about the heritage, if it's Irish, relatable, getting customer feedback. Kind of similar stuff to what Anita was saying as well.
Okay, lovely. So having a face or personality, dialing up different aspects. So whether it's Irishness or quality or, that kind of thing, and then getting customer feedback. Okay, really, really nice. Helen, what about for your room? Thanks, Kate.
I was with Sarah, and we said that the business we looked at was pennies, and we said, you get value for money, you get variety of choice. And that we looked at it at other businesses. We looked at a small business that sells home produced farm produce, and that they had a clear focus on what they were selling. They kept their promise, they kept what they were going to sell, and they were determined to keep going even when people said, you can't really make money out of it. And also it's really important to have good conditions for your staff and take good care of your staff, because that's going to make a difference to the retention and the way they treat the customers as well.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so this idea of retention, which actually the hospitality sector are really seeing issues with, because they were commoditizing staff. So when the furloughs happened, staff are less likely to want to come back. So like that whole idea of retention is really important for a sustainable business. Yeah, lovely. That's great, Ellen. Thanks. And I'll take one more. So Mary, what about for your room?
So I was with Barbara, and Barbara had talked about a Let's Eat company that was online, and so the fact they're online is very accessible, and you can pay by card, and they have a great range, everything from Italian through to whatever it is you want to eat, and they have a good kids menu and a great delivery service. And I had looked at here in Donegal, McGee, which is a sort of a traditional business that has stood the test of time. And when you look at, they stayed true to their tradition and what they do. They have a great website, and they stayed with a quality product. So even though it may be a little bit more expensive, people like that it's quality and there's tradition there. And they did add new lines such as interiors, and they also have the loyalty card, so you can build up points, and encourages people to go back to them.
Okay, lovely. So on all of your, like from the rooms that you're in, you will have other stuff on that list. Like I know from myself and Amy, when we were talking, it was like good word of mouth, someone who's really good at social media on the team, having a really good team, having something that's on trend. But if you look at some of them, like some of them are like in contrast to each other. So if you take like pennies, for example, like value for money is the real selling point there. But then if you look at McGee's, like they're not necessarily value for money, they're more expensive, right? So it depends on, so there's lots of options there, right? So for you as a business owner setting off, like even if you try and use the best of the best as you see them, it can become overwhelming because there's so much things to think about, right? So that's a real challenge as a business owner and a real challenge in terms of your marketing. So the first two parts of what I do with you today are really to help you, to stop you getting overwhelmed as you start building up your business, because there's just a lot of information there. So let's look at first at the entrepreneurial equation first. So you have all of these different ideas, right? And they're like, it's really nice when you're setting up your own business. And I've done a lot of start your own business courses over the years, training on them. And the image that I have in my head for any entrepreneur starting up is kind of something like this, right? So it's this idea of like, I'm pursuing my own destiny, and I'm going to go my own way. I won't have a boss, and I have a vision of where I want to go. Like I want to serve my customers in this way, and it's very expansive, right? So generally people on a start your own course will look, a version of this, just an adult version. And then when you have people a couple of years later, they tend not to look as freaking easy, because this overwhelm over a couple of years being in business can really get to people, because there's just so many different elements to think about. So the entrepreneur's equation is to help you distill all of this. Like if you imagine all the words we've mentioned so far down a piece of paper, that's quite a lot of words, right? So how do you distill what's really important to your business? So the entrepreneur equation is about that. So if you break down absolutely everything that makes up a business, and define, okay, what is really important, what you're really left with is only three elements, actually. Okay, so the three elements that you're left with as a business owner is, actually, I'll ask you that. I'll get you to do that. So if you think about all of the words that we've mentioned, right, what are the 2 or 3 most important things that you think a business has to have to succeed, right? So out of all the things we mentioned and that you mentioned in your room, I want you to just write down whether they're the 2 or 3 things that are the most important thing in your business. Okay, so when I'm working with people, I say that there's 3 things, right? So the first one is customers. Okay, so if you don't have them, you don't have a business. So that's like kind of straightforward. You need customers. So therefore, that is your most important job as a business owner. So doesn't matter about anything after that. If you don't have customers, you actually just don't have a business. So that is your priority. So I would often meet people who will say to me, Muireann, I just don't have time for marketing. Like, it's just, I'm really busy with other things. I'm like, okay, that's fine. But you are a business owner. That is your job. Like, that is the thing that you need to do, because it rides on everything. The second thing is money. So you need to be able to make enough money from those customers in order for you to survive, have your holidays, have your good life. So that's the second element. Otherwise, you have to evaluate, are you running a charity, or is it just a passion project, right? And that's being realistic with yourself. So there might be loads of people who want to do business with you, but they mightn't want to pay you the amount. So we were talking about that earlier on, Teresa. So that's the second most important part. And then the third part is making a plan to address those first 2 parts, right? Which for many people is a business plan, but actually it doesn't have to be as formal as that. It just needs to be a plan on how am I going to get customers and how am I going to make money. That's it. That's your only job. So if you take away all of the words that we talked about, they're just an aid to that. So marketing is an aid to getting more customers. That's it. Getting feedback is a way to get more customers, because you are trying to understand them better so you can sell to them better. So everything is a function of that. So it's really helpful for you when you know that, because then you're like, okay, actually that's the only 2 things I really need to concentrate as a business owner to grow my business. So your first question is going to be, well, how do I know if I have a viable business or not? Like, so how do I know whether to take that step in order to like leave my job or, you know, pursue this new venture? Like if I'm trying to branch out my current business out into another direction. So this is where the entrepreneur equation becomes really important. So how do you evaluate whether or not you will have a business or not? And that's the entrepreneur's equation. So the entrepreneur's equation is really straightforward. It's taking that idea of customers' demand and plan. Sorry, customers' margin and plan. And if you were to take any kind of business and look at their finances, in English, this is what it translates to, right? So it's customers multiplied by selling price equals turnover minus costs equals profit. Okay, so if you're to, like, you might put it in a cash flow or a P&L or whatever other finance format that you want to put it in, but this is what a business actually boils down to. It is, I have a certain amount of customers, they give me a certain amount of money for what I'm selling to them, that gives me an amount of money, my turnover, it costs me to serve them, so I take that away and that will give me my profit. Okay. So that kind of seems like nice and straightforward, and it is actually, which makes everything quite simple when you look at it. But if you take it that turnover and profit are actually just outcomes, okay? So turnover and profit are just the things that are an output of customers by selling price minus costs, right? So that means that these are the three areas that you can really concentrate on deciding, is this business viable or not? So the question that you have in your head when you're trying to figure out, is this a viable business? You're asking yourself, how many customers do I think I will get? How much am I going to charge them? That gives me an estimate on my costs or on my turnover. How much is it going to cost me? And then that gives me the potential profit. So when you're looking at that, then it really means that the first part of it is your marketing and the second part of it is your management. Okay. So really the marketing part is trying to make sure, am I going to have a proposition that is attractive enough for people to want to buy it off me, and how many do I think will buy it off me? That's basically it. Okay, so just, it's a handy one to have in terms of really clarifying what it is that you're doing as a business owner. So if you have any questions about, like, is this business viable or not, just go back to that equation. You know, how many people do I think I'm actually going to get, and how much money are they going to pay? And that will tell you and give you answers that you need. So Teresa asked earlier on about should she go for teachers? And was that a good opportunity for her? So I'm not able to tell whether that is a good opportunity or not because I haven't done the research, but the direction will be, okay, so how many teachers do you think are out there? That's your first step. Then it's, okay, out of them, how many do you think will be interested in this product? There's loads of them, right? So there's loads of them interested. You move on to the next part of it and you go, okay, how much are they willing to pay? And that was your question, Teresa, nothing. So, or, you know, very little. So the equation starts falling apart because the cost to serve then is going to be the same as if you're, you know, you're serving someone that's spending loads of money. So it takes the questions out of it. It takes the debate out of it. It's just maths. It's just pure maths. So it's not opinion.
Yeah.
It's not anything. It's just pure maths.
I don't even know if that's true, by the way. I'm only just, you know, exploring.
Yeah, so that would be the second question where people say, like, oh well, how will I know? That's why people recommend that you do research. That's the pure reason for research. So the predominant thing that you research initially in your business is, how many customers do I think I'll get and how much do I think they'll be willing to pay? So that's your first layer, and then it's like, okay, well, what do I do to make that more attractive? So can I get them to spend more? Can I get them to want it more? That's really all you're doing with marketing. So it means that you never have to go really to a consultant. Now I'm saying that as a consultant, right? But you never really have to go to somebody, because just ask yourself that question. Like, that's all they're just going to ask you it in different ways, but that's essentially that's the equation that they're trying to work out at the bottom. Okay, so the bit that we're going to look at is that marketing piece, right? So we want to get you those customers. We want to make you the most attractive proposition so that people want to buy from you, right? So again, this is all about structure, okay? So if you think of all of the things we mentioned earlier on, like social media, branding, word of mouth, any kind of marketing terminology, right? It gets a bit overwhelming again, because it's like, okay, well, what will I do out of all of these things? So what I'm going to talk to you through is this 9-point structure, okay? And this would be for any business that I would be working with. I'm not to use, if you imagine that these are levers, right? They're opportunities that you can use, but you're not necessarily going to use all of these different levers that I'm going to show you. But this is the 9 pieces that you can think about in terms of, okay, what marketing am I going to do for my business? All right. So it's your structure, your kind of core. Okay. So let's look at the marketing side of it. So marketing is about trying to get yourself to be a magnet to the people that you're trying to attract into your business, right? So you're trying to get people to buy off you. So you want either people to be paying customers, or you want them to be paying customers and advocates for you. So you want people going out there going, Muireann's amazing, like she's brilliant. So you want them both paying you to give you the service and telling other people about it. So the key pieces that people typically think about when they're thinking about marketing is, who is my target customer? And I'll talk to you about how to pick that. People tend to think about promotion. So like, what tool will I use? Will I use Twitter? Will I use direct mail? Will I use outdoor? You know, whatever the promotional tool is. And people tend to think of branding. So I need a logo. I need to decide what colors I am, all of that kind of stuff. And we'll talk through to them. But there's a whole piece in the middle, all of these other levers that you can use that can be really useful for you. And those other levers are, it's about the product that you're offering, the pricing, the place that you're offering it, the people that are offering it, the process, and the partners. Okay, so there's all of these other lovely levers in there that I'm going to talk to you about today, so that you don't forget about them and don't only concentrate on promotion and branding, which is what a lot of people do. So the magnet, this is what we want to do. We want people to come towards us. We want them to really want what we have. So how do we do that? So you'll be all familiar with, like, what's your target customer? What's your niche? But sometimes, like, they're just words, right? So let's take a look at why we recommend that you pick a target customer in the first place. So the first question is, who is your customer? So I'm just going to get you to think about a different business, right? So if you look at runners, so I want you to imagine that we all own a runner business, okay? So we've decided that we're going to be the best runner suppliers in Ireland, in the world, and we're sitting down and we're having a meeting because we're setting up this business, and we have to go, who is our customer, okay? So I'm going to very quickly put you back into your breakout rooms, and I want you to have that discussion, right? So if you were to set up your own business in runner production, who would be your target audience? And make a list of all of the potential people that you think you might be able to target. Okay, so 2 minutes in your breakout rooms, and have a quick discussion on that. Okay. Okay, Anthony, did you get an invitation? Okay, I'm going to assign you to a different room. Okay, so I'm going to assign you to room 3. So you should see an invitation come up now, and you'll be able to go in there. Perfect. Okay, great. So who are you deciding is the target audience for our lovely runners? So Evelyn, do you want to let us know your room?
Yeah, so we talked around kind of different categories. So we said you might have like elite athletes, walkers, gym goers, people who wear runners just for fashion, kids. So there'd be like an age profile. So it's kind of broad. Then we talked about the different brands. Like when you go into a sports shop, you might see all the Nike stuff together. You might have Asics, you might have Metcons. So that's kind of where we got to.
Yeah, okay, really nice, really lovely. What about from another room? Can I get a volunteer to share yours with the rest of us?
Yeah, I was with Helen and Anthony. So much the same, we kind of said the teenagers, athletes and gym enthusiasts, college students, the busy parents, younger children then, and then older people maybe retired out walking and things like that.
Okay, lovely. Any room have something completely different that we've missed in the first two?
I was in with Mary and we were just saying maybe about sports clubs like GAA, something like that. You could do that as a target audience. And then maybe chain stores like Elbury's or Lifestyle Sports, something like that.
Yeah, so on brand.
On brand, yeah.
Yeah, okay, lovely. And I think someone else was going to say something different from one of their rooms.
It's kind of scraping the barrel, but like, you know, if you focus more on comfort, so it could be older people that need more comfortable shoes as opposed to not necessarily active.
Okay, lovely. Okay, really nice, right? So that is the start of any business owner, right? Is that you're sitting down, you're writing like, hey, who are all the people that could buy off me that might be interested in what I'm selling, right? So the danger is that you end up staying at that overall level. So I would often hear people say when I'm like, okay, who are you marketing to? And they're like, everybody. And I'm like, oh, that's great, but like, who are the everybody? And they're like, yeah, but like everybody needs life coaching, you know, which is probably true, right? But like you have to consider, right, if you think about the best marketing companies in the world with the biggest budgets, like if we take like the likes of Nike, they don't target everybody. They don't just do a blanket everybody communication out to the world. They segment it down into audiences and target it towards the segments, okay? So even at a big business level, they will always target. So why are they doing that? Like, so why are they, because they could really like justify saying, well, everybody likes Nike or everybody loves an Adidas runner. So why are they still segmenting it into different sectors?
So you're speaking to different groups of people. It's what kind of campaign, I suppose, that they're looking at, like finding different areas. I remember one actually. I don't know if anyone saw the movie. What was it? What Women Want.
Oh yeah.
Nike ad in that when he says no games, only sport. Woman running, you don't have to worry about running because running is not going to let you down. It's not going to so no games, like the relationship thing. So
yeah, lovely.
So they were targeting.
So, like, it's totally that. It's all around messaging. And if you think about like a consumer hears over 5,000 messages every day, right? So if you keep it at an every person level, there's no way for them to connect with it, right? So the reason that we're picking a target audience is A, for the messaging in terms of that, so we can connect with people, but also just in terms of affordability. So you can't afford to market to everybody. So like if you think like a good marketing spend for a small business, if you take out web design out of it, is probably about $2.5 grand, is a pretty average spend for a small business. 2.5 grand doesn't go very far to everybody, right? So it's just a matter of like common sense, is that you need to pick a group of people so that when you're spending your money or you're spending your time, because they're your two resources, is that you are able to connect with a group of people and then combine that with a message that's compelling for them. Then you're much more likely to have success with that money that you're spending. So this is the really key thing to have in your head, is everybody can come to you to get life coaching. So any group of people who want it and you want to work with them, let them come to you. But from a marketing perspective, you need to choose. So you need to choose who you want to work with. And you're really saying, who am I spending my time and money trying to get? Okay. So everybody gets that logically. So the challenge is that when you go to do that, the fear kicks in, right? So you're like, yeah, but I only have 2.5 grand to spend. Like, what if I get it wrong? Like, what if I get that wrong? So then I'll have spent my 2.5 grand and everybody over here might have wanted it. And I've spent it on these people and they don't. Like, oh, right? So you have to get over that. Like, you have to like bring yourself over that lift, like, and go back to common sense. If I try and spend my 2.5 grand across everybody, I'm getting nobody. Okay, you wouldn't spread your bets if you were going to the race course. You wouldn't put your money on all of the horses. It is ridiculous, right? So you put it on the winners that you think are the most likely to win. You may lose, but you're more likely to win big if you pick a couple of horses, right? You're not going to win anything if you try and spread it across all of them. Okay, so avoid everybody is the key thing. So the next thing is then writing out who are those potential people, right? So I'm just going to share 2 ways of doing that with a different business or just different businesses, just to give you a bit of inspiration. Okay, so if you keep it the runners, generally like people segment or look at the different audiences in a couple of different ways. So it could be geographic. So I want to target people that are in the Dublin area, the Cork area, Donegal, you know, whatever it might be. It could be demographic, which you've mentioned. So that's like age or gender, that type of thing. So kids, adults, whatever it might be, psychographic and behavioral. So in the way that people think or in the way that people behave. So they're generally your options, but that's kind of academic, right? So you want to move away from the everybody campaign. So I'm just going to share with you an example from a physiotherapist. So I do a huge amount of work with the physiotherapy industry, and with all the different businesses that I work with, typically this is what they would come back as their list of everybody, right? So when I go to say to them, like, who are the different types of people that you could work with, this is what comes out. So it could be women, it can be people that have different ailments, so from things like vertigo, erectile dysfunction, breathing conditions, or it could be like sports injuries, so they would talk about that, or it could be that they just want to advertise locally to people that are over the 40 age mark. So it is just literally a brainstorm of like, who are all the people that you could go after. When I sat down for my business, this is how it looked for me. So it was, you know, I could do marketing for small business owners, physios, the legal profession, vets, accountants, other coaches, or in the training and education space. Okay, so everybody starts at the same point, is you put yourself in the middle and you're asking yourself who might be interested in what I'm offering, right? So I'm going to get you to take a piece of paper yourself, put yourself in the middle, and do out who are all the potential people that might be interested in what you're offering. So we'll just take a couple of minutes to do that yourself. Okay, so I'm going to show you then two different physios and how they took their list and then shortened it down into more concrete target audiences. So this is Aoife. She works in town. And the area that she decided that she was really going to focus, so she had this huge list of people that she could treat and how she could treat them, but she narrowed it down, and the 3 green areas were the ones that she really wanted to concentrate on. So it was local people, because that just makes sense from a physio practice point of view. She really wanted to target healthcare professionals because they influence people to go to a service like hers, such as physio. And then she really wanted to target women. So she wants to be known as the women's health professional to go to in the north side of Dublin. Okay, so that is, and really out of the 3 of them, the women piece is really the hero piece. So that's really, if you ask her what she wants to be known for, she wants to be known for being brilliant at women's health. Okay. This is Margot. She's based up in Letterkenny, so up near yourself, Mary. And her, again, she like has a similar list because physios have the same list. So her target audience was really around men and women locally, but the area that she wanted to concentrate on was sports people, but actually specifically around the golf area because she has specific training in the golf area. So she was like, I want to be known, and that actually for her expanded her opportunity outside of the Letterkenny area, because if she's known for being a specialist at making golfers perform better, that actually gives her more of a wide reach than just if she was doing like say sports injury for local clubs, that type of thing. So once you have that, that's giving you a platform to decide, okay, what is my marketing strategy? So if you think about someone like Margot, it's going to be like, this is what her strategy is going to be looking like. So it's going to be building a local profile, really going strong after a target audience, which in her case is golf. For her, she was also looking and considering around, is there other opportunities to kind of seize that would give her a point of difference? And COVID-19 would be one, and then digital is an always on strategy. So that's basically what you're doing, right? So you're really just picking out of all of the people that you could, which is on your list there, which ones are the ones that you go after. So how do you make the decision is the key question that most people have, right? So how do you make a good decision? So there's 4 ways that you can decide who is your target audience. So you're asking yourself these 4 questions. So who wants it the most? Okay, so that's number 1. So who wants it the most or needs it the most? So that's demand. The second one is who will pay you the most? Because that's always nice. The third question you have is who is easiest to get to? So what is your access like? So that can be like your experience, your expertise, your past life. Like if you happen to have been a teacher in your past life, you have access to teachers, it makes sense. They're just easier to go for, even though they mightn't be the ideal person, they're still easier for you to actually access. And then the fourth one is who do you want to work with? Who do you have passion for? Who do you really want to help? It's the last one because you're better off doing the economic ones first and then do the passion one, rather than doing the passion one first and then trying to convince yourself there's money in it, right? Or there's a demand in it. So like in my case, for example, small businesses, massive demand, particularly startups, like they all want marketing coaches. But the second, and I love working with them, like I love startups, but the margin part is a real issue, right? So they don't have money. So I might love working with them. They might be easy to get to, and they might have a real demand for my product, but is it going to make a sustainable business for me? If I had all startups, no. Okay, so you have to be really practical about it. So out of the ones that you have listed there, put a circle around the ones that you think have the most potential based on those 4 questions.
You almost kind of need to know exactly what you want to get into them, Muireann, don't you, to know your target audience? Yeah, I find it really difficult to do this because I just don't know where I want to go, so it's hard to pick an audience.
Yeah, so I mean, sometimes you'll have to leave it in for a little while until you get clarity on it. But essentially, you're all like that first part of this process in marketing is the most important part. So having that full list and then picking who your target list is, everything, it's like a hanger, like everything hangs off it. So don't do any marketing unless you have clarity. Like don't do any communication, I mean, without having clarity on that, because you'll end up at this generalist level that people won't understand really what you're doing. Yeah, so that it is the most important one, to have an effective marketing plan. It's a bit like, though, what I would say to you, Kelly, is I always find that when people are in this space, it's a bit like, you know, if you're going to buy a car, right, and someone, you're kind of figuring out what kind of car you want, and someone says to you, oh, do you know what car is lovely? It's the Kia. The Kia is really nice. And you're like, I don't know what the Kia looks like, actually. And then you go out on the road and like, you're like, does everybody drive Kias? Because that's all I see now, right? So hopefully today's session will be a bit like that for you. Now that the awareness is kind of up there, you will start seeing in other people's work, oh, that's that target audience stuff. Oh, is that a target audience for me? You know, hopefully that will, your radar will be up so that you can actually bring it into your environment and into your world.
Thank you.
Muireann, can I just say something to you? But
Yeah,
we've talked about this before. Mary and I are both careers for our background, but we always say the people that most need us can't afford to pay for us. Because if people are already unemployed or looking to be women returners, they have no money to pay for it, and they're the people that most need the help. So that's where we always fall between two stools. So.
Yeah, and that's where it tends to be that a lot of the time you'll end up going towards government programs and doing tenders because that's actually who will pay for those types of services. So like over the years, I've done a lot of work on the back to work enterprise allowance, so training people back into self-employment as opposed to getting a job, but it's all government funded, or start your own businesses or that kind of thing. So if it's a case that it's a cohort of people who sometimes it can be because of like different conditions or like economics or whatever it is, tendering might be the way to do it, or doing it through third parties so that you can get a decent level of pay in, because they don't have it. Yeah.
Muireann?
Yeah.
I kind of had it in my head because I don't really have a notion. I know a couple of places I don't want to go. I kind of had it in my head to kind of just work away and put a timeline on it, kind of 6 months, and just kind of experience the coaching and see what floated my boat before I went down the really pushing myself. Does that make sense or not?
Yeah, it totally makes sense. And so this comes from a place of knowing your own economic situation, right? So if people are in a case where they need money immediately and they need to earn a living, well, then you need to activate this sooner, right? So like I know when I started initially, I had just got the redundancy, so I had a bit of money. So I did that 6 months of exploring because I could afford to do it, right? So I had money that was there, and also I was on the back to work enterprise allowance. So that takes the pressure off, so you can absolutely explore it. But the minute you are getting into, is this a business or not, which is the crunch piece, is you have to bring yourself back to numbers. You need to bring yourself back to specifics, because you can, and what you have said, Joan, there is that you've given yourself a timeline. So that's the key thing. Give yourself a timeline. But you don't want to be in business and up and running 6 months and floating around, you know, and going, look, what am I doing, right? But as I said to you at the very start, like, you might have all the plans in the world anyway, and you put together a great marketing plan, and it turns out nothing like that, right? So, like, I have never come to the end of a year and my marketing plan has ended up working out exactly as I had planned. But the key thing is to have at least thought through a plan and try to pursue it. And you know, life, like, who could have predicted at the start of this year like what was going to happen? You know, you just can't. But the principles of marketing are very much housed in the decide who you want to work with and go after them. You know, that's essentially it. So the really nice thing about this is that once you have picked a group of people to work with and you want to work with them and all the rest, then it's just a matter of deciding, how do I get them to know about me? How do I get them to understand what I'm all about? So now you're trying to, it's like a dating, you're going to do the dating world, right? So you're fabulous and you're like, I'm wonderful. Now I need to find a partner and I need them to think I'm wonderful, right? So if you think about it from a dating analogy point of view, like, you don't go out and when you're dating, you don't go out and just tell everybody everything about you because they'd be scared off, right? So they'd be like, way too much information, Muireann, thank you very much, right? So when you're on a date for the first time or the first couple of times, you showcase the best aspects of yourself, the ones that you think the other person will be most interested in, hoping that if you can reel them in through that they will love you enough to get over your, you know, your deficiencies in some way, right? So it's the same thing. You're going to showcase the best of yourself to other people. That's all marketing is about. So any kind of communication that works on a one-to-one level really works on a one-to-many level, which is what marketing is. So let's go through each of the things and each of the ways that you can communicate all about yourself to your customer. So the first element is deciding what it is that you're offering, right? So you've picked who it is that you're going to work with. So I'm picking people that are, you know, unemployed and want to get into employment, or you know, professionals who want to advance their careers, or, you know, people that I know Adrian was talking to about relationships earlier on. So like married couples who aren't getting on and want to get on again. So the challenge is, like, if you stay at life coach, it's difficult for people, right? Because what is a life coach? Like, it doesn't really describe very much. So you want to bring a bit of depth to that. So I've just taken a couple of examples, but if you think about any of the big players, they always have something that they're specifically talking about. So they can coach on anything, but they are highlighting an area that they're saying, I'm really good at this. So if you take Tony Robbins, for example, he really nails in on business coaching when you go onto his website. But if you look at his YouTube and all of that kind of stuff, like, it's quite general, and it's about performance and getting yourself where you want to be, like living the life that you want. But on his website, it's all about the business coaching, is where he really makes his money. If you look at like any of these guys who would be pretty famous in the world of coaching, they have an angle. Right, so Bob Proctor, his angle is money, right? Brian Tracy, the angle is sales. Lisa Burbo, health. Marcy Shimoff, happiness. You know, they have an angle at which they go for. So I'd really encourage you to think about, like, what if you've picked the target audience that you're going after, what you just have to ask yourself is, what kind of problems can I solve for them? So the key question that you're asking yourself is, now that you're clear on who you're helping, ask yourself, how do they transform as a result? Okay, so just take a minute and pick one of the target audiences that you've written down and just play with it. Like, how do they transform? How would you like to help them transform as a result of interacting with you? There's a brilliant TED Talk, and it's called How to what is it? How to Find Your Life Purpose in 5 Minutes. I'd really recommend that I'll actually find the link when we take a break, and I'll send it into you. It's really good. It actually does this as a process in quite a neat way. People only care about this, right? So for you as a business owner, having clarity on how you transform someone is the most important thing. So the best way to think about this is that you're either going to increase things for people or you're going to decrease things for people. And you want to know what those things are. So I'm going to increase happiness. I'm going to make you richer. I'm going to make you stronger. I'm going to, you know, what is it that I'm going to increase in your life? Or what am I going to decrease? So you're going to be less stressed. You're going to be less depressed. You know, you're going to have less struggle, whatever that might be. So asking yourself, what am I increasing or decreasing for people is really helpful. But ultimately, people, if they're coming to you for coaching, they want to be transformed in some way. So they are at a position now and they want you to get them to somewhere else. So that's what you want to know. What transformation am I going to be really good at? And, you know, you may not know that yet, but that's what you want to uncover. Like, really, what is it that I'm really good at? And Maslow's hierarchy of needs is a really good example of framing that. So depending on where, you know, Maslow's hierarchy of needs, where it starts off like, I need my basics satisfied. So I need shelter, water, you know, a safe home, all that kind of stuff. And then it moves up the rungs, and you've got to, like, I want to be, if I have all that, I want to fit in, so I want to be accepted by my peers. Once you're accepted by your peers, then you want to be respected, right? It's not enough now to be accepted. I want to be respected. And eventually it goes up into self-actualization. So the people that come to you for life coaching will be at different stages of that. So some people might be at the stages of, you know what, I just need to be at base level. I need to be functioning. Right, and maybe that's the transformation that you offer people, is that I will get you just functioning, getting up out of your bed and moving along into the world. Or it's that you're helping people that are really at self-actualization stage, where it's like, you know, you're operating really well in the world, but now I'm gonna, you know, this whole thing of like, I'm gonna 10x your business, right? That's all about that kind of level. It's like, you're doing great, I want to get you like singing and swinging from the stars, right? So that can be a helpful framework for that, but really ultimately, ask yourself, what is the transformation that I'm looking to help people with? And that's for every product, every service. Like, why do we spend, you know, a couple of $100,000 on a Ferrari, right? It's because I want to look really rich. That's basically it. I want to, you know, have that impression to all my friends and family. You know, there's no real reason. Like, how much better is a Ferrari than a car that's a couple $100,000 cheaper than it? I don't know. I'm not big into cars, but like, it's a prestige thing, isn't it? Right? So that's what they're buying into. So that's what you want to be able to frame for your family or for your customers. So the key thing to understand is that nobody cares about you. Okay, so nobody cares about you. No, you don't care about me. Like, you don't care about Muireann Fitzmaurice. If you're coming to me, you want me to help you do something or help you move somewhere. Like, I want to get clarity on my marketing. I want to make more money. You know, I want to feel more confident about what I'm doing. There'll be a couple of things that you're looking for from me. So that's what you're asking yourself. What would people be looking for from me? Because that's what they're most concerned about. So once you have that, and you can check this out, like get feedback from your customers, like what kind of resonates with them, then the next part of it is, how do I package that up? So like, how do I price it and how do I put it into a package? So that is your next step. So let me just show you this. Oh yeah, stop share. Let's share again. 1 sec. Okay, so place is a really interesting piece, right? So place is one of the dynamics in which you can communicate your brand, what you're about to your customer. So I'm just going to give you 2 examples of place. So there's virtual space and place, and then there's real place. So the virtual place is, what impression am I giving to people for them to understand what I'm all about? So this is a practice that I work with in Galway. It's a practice called Bailey Point. Owned by a guy called Michael Gallagher, fabulous guy. This was his website originally. And he is one of the best physios in Ireland who treats vertigo. He is really known very well in the physio space as being excellent at what he does. You wouldn't really get that impression from looking at the website, right? It's not the best. And this is a picture of his team. Now, I don't know about you, but I think they look like fairly stressed out, or I don't know what they look, it just looks so bad, right? And they're brilliant, like they're really good at what they were doing. So he was like, look, this isn't the impression that I want to give. I want to be seen as the best in the West. And he was like, I need my website to reflect that. So we did a revamp on his website. And straight away you can start seeing, like, look, he needs to be telling what he's doing, right? So we're the leading physiotherapy and sports injury practice in Ireland, 20 years experience in serving Connacht. So straight away it's looking cleaner, it's looking better. And then even they just got decent photography done, not expensive, and they got a local guy to do it. It didn't cost very much, but they started positioning themselves as like, we are, like, if you're in the West, you should be coming to us when you're looking at physio. And even just the way we started profiling their people, giving them hero status. Like, before it was all about Michael, where now we started looking and going, like, how do we really dial up like your team and show them as the experts that they are, and not looking like convicts on a website, right? So your place, and if it happens to be online, for a lot of you, it will be online. You want to ask yourself, like, what is the impression that I want to give across? You know, and your website is one of the ways to do that. For many of you, you won't necessarily, some of you will have an office, other of you won't. But regardless if you're picking an office or you're going to like meet in hotels or have meeting rooms or whatever it might be, the place where you meet your customer is really important. So this is just a case study from a veterinary practice that I worked with last year. And vet practices are pretty much the same. So I don't know if you've been in one recently, but they tend to be kind of old-fashioned, a bit like GP surgeries, you know, that kind of vibe. And the Glen Veterinary, the company that I worked with, they wanted to just stand out. So if they look at all of the when you look at all of the logos that are out there, like, and now that I say this to you, there's no way you won't be able to notice this when you're going around, but they always will have like either a cross, a cat or a dog on the in the logo, and generally they will be either blue or green, right? So any vet you will see, they will have this coloring, and they were like, we just don't want to be like that. We want to stand out. We want to be different. So this was their logo originally, but we wanted to make them into the likes of like a Brown Thomas brand, or Liberty, you know, Liberty London. And the other brand that they really loved was Tiffany's. They're like, that's the kind of, we want this brand to be like that. So when people come into our premises, they feel like they're going into like the likes of, you know, the Tiffany's or whatever. So this was the logo that we redesigned for them. But logos are only one aspect of it. What we really wanted to explore was what could we do with place and how could we bring this logo to life for them. So once you went into the entrance, what we wanted to create was a really wow moment for the customers that felt really different. So we got these massive murals done up. So this is on the small animal side, and then on the farmer side, we got these big graphics done up with the large animals on them, and even in the interior where the grooming was on, we got these massive graphics done up so that when they were getting pictures taken in the grooming area, that they had these graphics done up. So like there's what you're asking yourself really is like, what do I want people to understand about me, right? So in place, like if you're not going to have a venue where you have an office, and many of you won't, it's about like where will I choose to do business. So like I don't have an office that I would like, unless people want to come up to my bedroom, which is where my office is, not appropriate, right? So I always meet in meeting spaces, but I choose the meeting spaces based on who the client is. So like when I was meeting the Ink Factory, for example, they're cool and funky. I met them in the iconic buildings because the iconic buildings in Dublin look cool. So I'm not cool. So I was like, at least I'll make my surroundings look cool, right? But then when I'm meeting the Women's Mini Marathon, they're much more formal and they're more traditional. So I met them in the meeting spaces in the Dún Laoghaire Library because they're lovely and open. They're really nice, but they have a traditional feel. So like even thinking through like the place where you're just meeting someone tells a lot about who you are. It also tells a lot about what you can charge. Okay, so if you think about Bailey points, like if he was trying to charge €150 with that Bocchetti website, like you'd question, you'd be like, he's a bit old-fashioned, right? But when you start putting all the things together, that he has the expertise, he has the reputation, he has a really good website, all of the pieces, not just one, all of the pieces coming together starts letting him charge a higher price. So it's not one of these levers like product, price, place, promotion, people, process. It's not one of them. It's a combination of them. But ultimately, you're asking yourself, what story am I telling through any of these things? Yeah. So does that make sense?
Yeah. Hi. Sorry, Muireann, I just wanted to ask you, the website platform you used for the Bailey Point, was that Klavi?
No, WordPress. I always use WordPress.
WordPress, okay.
Yes, I never use anything else. The main reason that I recommend everybody uses WordPress is that you don't get stuck with any developer, that if you're not happy with them, every developer pretty much will use WordPress. So you don't get tied. So like some people will give you different platforms, but then you end up like Drupal, for example, and then you need a Drupal expert, which is a nightmare. Yeah. Everybody knows how to do WordPress, and it's really easy to manage.
Yeah, and I have Webador, but it's, it's okay, but it's a bit clunky. So
Yeah, you want to pick a good, you want to pick a good platform for yourself. So I mean, a lot of this stuff is also how you feel about yourself. So like Glenfest was around for a long time, but that revamp, and we did a relaunch for them, a big party last year. This was the staff there. It was also how they felt about it, right? So that's where they were going to work every day, you know, and when they saw the place looking better and feeling better, they started feeling better about about what they were doing. So even if it is a space that you're working from home, and it is a tiny space, even just consider it for yourself. Like, place has a big influence on how we feel about what we're doing. So it's an important part from a marketing perspective, but also as a business owner. Pricing is really like it's a funny one, right? And it's definitely a challenge for people to get right. But people aren't concerned so much about price; they're concerned about value. Okay, so like, you know, if you think about like a Birkin bag or something like that, like 20 grand for a bag, like, it's not, the leather isn't that much better than you know, another bag, but it's the perceived value that you're buying into. So you're trying to ask yourself, how can I make it easier for people to afford to pay me, and really how can I make them think that it is really worth it, right? So one of the things about I had a coach myself about 2 years ago, and when I was considering buying into her as a coach, she's a business coach, and she was €500 every time I met her. Okay, that's expensive, right? So I'm trying to make my mind up, going like, am I going to pay this? Like, and I'm not getting paid as much as that. Like, will I do it? So anyway, I decided that I would go for it, because she told me all of the things that the reasons that I should buy off her. But one of the key reasons for me was that she had been a part of Action Coach years ago, and they're very systematic in terms of their coaching. And I was like, oh, what I really need to figure out, and what I needed for my business, was that I needed to figure out better systems. That was one of the key things I was going to coach for, and I knew she'd be able to help me with that, right? But what I found fascinating about the whole thing was that what was my behavior like going to a €500 person? What do you think I did before the coaching sessions?
You were unbelievably prepared.
Yeah, like, game on. I was like, I'm paying you 500 quid. I need to do the work. I need to do the work. I wasn't even relying on her to do it. But like, you know, the way you kind of leave things to the last minute, and like, I'd be a real skating into things kind of person. So like, if she'd been charging €100, and I might have spent the same amount of money with her over time, I would not, like, I wouldn't respect it as much, right? But with the €500, my expectations were high, but also the expectations of what I had to do with it. So the one thing I'd say to you as a coach is, you're never gonna just wake up, or for a lot of coaches, some of you will just go, yeah, I'm charging 500 quid, or I'm charging, you know, 100 quid, whatever it might be. You'll always doubt whether or not you're worth it or not. That's what I find for people. You'll always doubt it. So whatever you think you're going to charge higher. Okay, so if you have decided, I'm going to charge €60, charge 70. Just push yourself beyond it, because no matter what your fee is, it actually doesn't really matter. What you want to concentrate on is, I need to deliver value for this person, and I need to show what is the value that this person is going to get. So if you decide, I'm going to charge €500, it will get you to step up your game. You will know that the person is coming to you and expecting to get €500 worth of coaching. So you will step up your game to that. You will show them what it is that they'll get for it. So the key thing is, what is the transformation that they're going to get, and how much do they need or want that, and how much do I think it's worth to them, and then put a value on what it is that you're trying to sell. But pricing is hard. Pricing is really difficult. The key thing I'd say to you is, you've done a lot of hours. So how many hours do you have to do again for to get your qualification?
Between 18 and 25, kind of.
18 and 25. So you don't need to do another 100 for free, right? So just pick a price, go for it, and then just go, I really need to show people how they transform. That's how I'm going to increase my value, and the value that they perceive from me. But that's what they're concerned about. How will you help me transform? They're not as concerned about the pricing. Another example I had of it recently was a sister-in-law of mine went down to a herbalist down in Wexford, and when she went down to her, it was all around pregnancy, and she spent €70 as a consultancy with her. That was a couple of years ago. And my other sister-in-law, her sister, is now trying for a baby and all the rest. And she said to like, you must give me the name of that girl. And that girl now is charging, wait for it, €425 for 40 minutes now, right? And 4 years ago, she was charging 70. I can guarantee you, she hasn't changed what she's doing. She hasn't changed what she's doing, but she has belief in herself that she is giving people what they need when they come to her, right? So the thing that you need to concentrate on is belief and helping people, and less on, oh my God, can I charge it, right? So if you concentrate on those two things, you will start being able to get your price higher and higher, which is nice. It's difficult. It's hard because products are a lot easier because you're selling something else. Where when you're selling coaching, it feels like you're selling yourself. So that is slightly the challenge in it. So one of the things that you can do to help yourself around that is have a brand name that's not your name. Okay, so it's much easier to sell a product or a thing that's separate than you than it is yourself. So if I'm selling Muireann Fitzmaurice, it's hard. When I'm selling marketing coach, I find that way easier. So I can charge much higher for marketing coach than I can if I'm charging it under my name. So that can be a helpful trick for you if you're trying to raise your prices. Okay, so the next one so that was what I had in the slides was to get over the fee fear by freeing the fear. So it's just your fear, it's not the customers. The next one is around people. So can your people be your point of difference? So is there something about you that makes you different, that actually makes you be able to stand out? So that's really looking at your own assets and saying, like, is there something about me in my background that I can use to actually market myself in a more effective way? So the reason I had the Polish flag up there was that I was talking to a girl and she was a coach, and she was asking me about how do I define my unique selling point, and we were finding it difficult actually as we were going through the conversation because she couldn't find it, right? So we were literally going through the 9 pieces of information. So it was like, okay, is your target audience different? She was like, no. Is the product different? No. Is the price different? No. Is the place different? No. That's where you're finding unique selling points, right? And then just in a very throwaway comment towards the end of the coaching, she mentioned that she just was talking about being Polish, and she's like, there's a lot of Polish people in Ireland. She was like, but actually, do you know what I love? Like, I speak 6 languages. And she was like, I just love meeting different nationalities. And I was like, sorry, what? You speak 6 languages? And she's like, yeah. She was like, yeah, no, I do. And I was like, that might make you a little bit different than some of the coaches that are in Ireland maybe at the moment. And she was like, but because it was herself, she didn't even see it as a point of difference. So people is a point of difference. So if it's worth going out and asking the people that you know, is there something about me, or if you're choosing to work with somebody else, is there something about me that, what do you think I would be able to use as my assets that I'd be able to sell to somebody else? And even just asking a couple of people that know you might unlock like something like that. Like, you know, the fact that you speak 6 languages, that's pretty unique, right? So asking people around you, is there something about me that I could use to make myself different within this kind of crowded marketplace? Okay, so that's people. And then process. So this is how you do what you do, right? So you might be offering the same thing. So you might be offering career coaching, and there is like how many ever 100 other career coaches out there, but maybe it's your process that you can sell. So is it that you do, like, you know, it's a much more personal service, or is it nearly like a self-service model that you have, or is there something that's automated, or is it that you do like speed coaching, or, you know, it's what is the process? Is there something different in what you can do there? For me, a couple of years ago, I launched an online program called the Marketing Coach Toolkit, and this is really for startups to help them get access to a marketing consultant, but at a lower cost. So as a tool, €150, you go on and you get a 1-page marketing plan, right? But for me, it really was to have something that was different that I can offer out. So like, I use this tool with New Frontiers, for example, and they love it because they have this lovely output for all of their participants of this 1-page marketing plan as part of their business plan. That makes me stand out compared to the other marketing coaches that are going in and training with New Frontiers, right? So process is actually an angle that you can go for to get yourself to have standout. The other is maybe partners. So partners, so looking at other distribution that you can use to get your message out to people. So in the case of, for example, the Marketing Coach Toolkit, I partnered with Microfinance Ireland, who do a whole lot of funding for the SME sector in Ireland, and did a special offer for them if they were to offer it out to their customers. So they put it up on their website and people can access it through Microfinance Ireland. Partners are a really, really good way of trying to get your message out there. So it's anybody that has an audience, has a link to the audience that you're trying to target. So if you think about like, do any of you have a partnership, or, and I don't mean as in a partnership that they're a partner in your business, I mean more that they're a partner that you can spread your message. Do any of you have one, or thinking about one? Elias, you look like you have.
Yeah, I am part of a community center. I volunteer in this community center, and I would be very interested in, working with them as well. So I think that would be an option for me, even as, as a pro bono, at least at the beginning, sort of thing. I had a few clients from my pro bono sessions as well from there, so they kind of know what the process is like. So that would be something I would like to look into.
Yeah. So what you're basically asking yourself when you're looking at that target customer that you're planning to reach, you're asking yourself, who are the other people that are already serving them, and can I partner with them in some way? Because if you can get access to your target audience through somebody else and they have easy access to them, that's brilliant. Like with Microfinance Ireland, for me, they have loads of small businesses going to them, much more than would be naturally going to me. So it makes sense for me to just take a cut in the margin and have them as a partner. They know input into my business, I have no input into theirs, but it's a really good channel for me to get out. So you can see, like, there's so many opportunities, like before you even get to promotion, right? In terms of like how you create your like a unique proposition for yourself out into the marketplace, right? There's loads of ways that you can do that, but you also have to do the promotion part. So that's, I need to go out and talk to people. I need to go out and get my message out there, right? So how do you do that? How do you actually make that, like, how do you decide basically, should I use Twitter? Should I use Facebook, or whatever it is? So how do you make the decision about what channel to use to promote your business?
I would. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Sorry.
Go on, Helen.
I was just going to say, do you think you need, at the start, do you think you need a website and a Facebook, or do you think one of them sufficient?
Okay, so we'll leave that hang as a question for a second. Yeah, so I'll come back to that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was going to say, you pick how you're going to get the message out there by your target audience. So if your target audience don't use Facebook, then there's no point putting stuff on Facebook, or if your target audience are on digital, platforms.
Wonderful. Wonderful. That's exactly it, right? Mm. So this is why your target audience is so important, because for this reason alone, is that you are just going to be guided by them. So all you have to do is ask yourself, what does my customer think of that decision? Like, what would my customer expect? So would my customer expect me to have a website? Is the answer yes or no? If you're doing corporate gigs, for example, you need a website. Like, a corporate will not do business with you if you don't have a website. But if it's moms with kids at home, like, they might be okay with you not having a website. They're happy enough that you're on Facebook, and that's grand. But Facebook won't cut it if you're trying to do it to corporates or other businesses. So the target audience is your homing device. So what you do is you sit down, you put them at the center, and you ask yourself, what are the channels that they're using in order to get information for themselves? Okay. So this slide is a really important slide to actually answer this. So these are on the right hand side are just the prompts. So you're asking yourself, based on your target audience, what are the magazines or press that they're like? What are they reading essentially? What social media are they on? What networks are they part of? So, are they part of Network Ireland? Are they part of a business network? Just what networks and community are they involved in? What websites do they go for information? So is it Her Daddy? Is it The Journal? Is it Roller Coaster? What are the websites that they go to? Where are the locations that they gather? So, you know, are they going to shopping centres? Are they going to the GA? You know, where is it like, or is it that they're all based in the IFSC because I'm targeting high net worth professionals? They're all, well, probably not now with COVID, they're not hanging out there, but they would have been before. What are they listening to? So radios, podcasts. And what events are they going to? COVID obviously affecting that. What groups, clubs, or organisations are they part of? So if I'm going for trying to get into HR with corporates, you know, what organisations are they part of? So is it the CIPD? Is it, you know, what are the different organisations? Most professions will have some representative body that they will be part of. And what forums are they part of? And who are the influencers? And I don't just mean around who are the influencers as in social media influencers. I mean, who are the people that influence the purchase decision of your particular target audience? So, like for example, when I was working in Unilever, we had mums were the main purchasers of deodorant, right? Lynx particularly, but they weren't the choice maker. It was the teenage boys that are the choice makers. So the purchase might be made by one, but the influence is by somebody else. So just take a minute, right? And based on the target audience that you had picked, just I'll pop up that slide again, just make a list of some of the places that you think they might be, that they might be the channels that they might be using. So just take a minute or two to do that. So do any of you find that hard to do, or is it very easy to do? So if you find it easy to do, just put up your hand so I can see. Okay, and if you find it hard to do, yeah. So if you're finding it easy to do, it's more likely that you are either working with the target audience already, or you are the target audience. Okay, so you are targeting the person that you are, right? So that will be, you'll find it really easy. If you're finding it less easy, it's probably you're a bit more removed from the target audience that you're trying to get to. So like if I was trying to target young men that are in their, you know, 18 to 25, like I don't have a breeze. Like I don't know, I have no contact with that target audience at all, right? So I would find that really, really difficult. So if you're finding it difficult, all that's indicating to you is you need to go and talk to that target audience, right? If there are people that you want to target, you need to understand them, right? So it's just, that's what your research is. So that would be a first step on research, is what are the channels that they're using? Ideally, like you want to know ultimately over the lifetime of your business, you want to know your target audience the way you do your best friend. Okay, so you know the way, like if you're, you know, if you get a Chris Kindle in work, right, and you get someone that you don't know and you pick them out and you're like, oh crap, I don't know what I'll get for them, right? And so say it's someone in work and it's a, like, I don't know, it's an older woman, right, and I get her and I don't know her. I'm like, oh god, what do I get? I might go for something a bit generic. I'll be like, oh, okay, she's, you know, she's this age and she might like something like that. I'll buy her something from Marks and Spencer's, right? So you might hit the mark because you've generally picked the demographic, you've picked something generic enough so she'd be happy. But if you know the person and you know what their interests are, you know how they think, all of that, you will be able to buy them a much better present. And when you give it to them, they'll be like, oh my God, you were so thoughtful. Thank you so much. Right? So that is with marketing why you are trying to connect and know your customer. So like doing research with them, getting to know them really well so that you can give them a better present, right? So thinkers Kindle, think present. That's what you're doing with your business, right? Giving them better presents so that they will think about you and go, she gets me, she knows me, I love her or I love him, right? That's ultimately what you're aiming for. Okay. So your mix of things. So if we go back, what I would recommend when you, after you go through that process, is you just pick 3 things that you're going to do. So 3 things that you are going to do to actually market to them. So I'm going to go on Facebook, I'm going to network, and I'm going to do outdoor advertising or whatever it might be. Just pick 3 things that you're going to do. And the key thing is that you're going to do them consistently. So if it's networking that you decide that you're picking, you network regularly, right? Or if it's on social media that you're going to be, you do that regularly. So like, for example, if you're trying to target local people, it'd be like flyers in the local business centers, networking, outdoor. If it was women's health, it would be female networking groups, social media posting, PR. If it was GPs, it might be direct relationship building, quarterly education gift package, or building your profile with the national organization like the IMO. So marketing is very much like exercise. So it's, if you think you're going to get fit by exercising once a week, you are not, right? If you think networking is going to work for you, if you go randomly 1 month here, 1 month there, it is not going to work, right? To get marketing fit, you need to be doing things regularly. Okay, so even if you're only picking 1 tool, do it, show up consistently, and that's where you'll get traction. Okay, so it's just like fitness. You need to be doing things regularly rather than a big bang, like, you know, walking up a mountain and going, yes, I'm going to reach my fitness goals, and then not going for a couple of months. You know, it just doesn't make sense. So it's exactly the same with marketing. A lot of the questions that people would have is around then how does branding fit into all of that, right? So branding is like the wrapping paper around it all. So branding is like the impression that people have as a result of everything that you do with them. So essentially branding is every touch point that you have with your customer, what it is that you are doing with them in that moment. So it is your logo, it is your website, but it is also how you pick up the phone when a client rings you. It is what outfit you're wearing when you turn up and have that meeting with them. You know, are you hassled when you arrive, right? Because you've just been having a row with somebody on the phone or whatever it is. So branding isn't just your logo and going, oh, isn't it great now? I got that sorted and I got my graphic designer and all of that. It is every interaction that you have with your customer is the impression that they will have of what your brand is. So I actually made this mistake yesterday. I picked up my daughter from school, she's 5, and her friend, and I got a phone call from a client, and I knew that they wanted to talk to me. So I answered the phone, and I shouldn't have. I was actually laughing when I was thinking about this morning, because I knew I was doing this session, and I thought I just should have not answered the phone and rang him back later, because I was completely distracted. I was hassled with my daughter and I was hassled with him because I was afraid that they were going to start being too noisy in the background. And I was like, this is just like, that's one of those branding moments, right? It's that I didn't come across well to him on the phone. I know that, because I was too distracted with trying to make sure that he was thinking that I was okay, and I wasn't, right? So it's just think of it as like the email, like your emails, you know, your tone, all of that is branding. It's the wrapping paper. Okay, so there's just one more thing that I'm going to talk to you about before we finish up, and that is around selling your content online. Okay. So we have a business called Branded Courses, and we help people put their content online. So there's loads of different tools that are out there that, like, you have Thinkific, Learn Upon, all of these different ones that are out there. and they're really good as well. They're really good. But what we help people is that we give a branded platform for you to sell your content, right? So that is selling your live calls, like Zoom calls, all that type of stuff, but also putting your content online. So there's a real benefit for you to start thinking about this now. So it's not, I'm not suggesting that you necessarily need to have an online course or anything like that now, but you are out and you're doing work over the next couple of months. It's worth having this in the background of your mind so that you start producing content now that potentially you could use as an online course later on, or you just belt on and you want an online course now. But the whole thing of online courses is that you are selling your content, like you're producing it once, but you're selling it multiple times, but you're not having to be there each time, right? So it's one of the biggest challenges that you have as a coach, is that there is only so many hours in the day. So if you think about the hours that are available to you in a given year, it maxes out your earning capacity because you only have so many hours to sell, right? So online training can really help that. So I'm just going to use one person as an example for you so that you can see how it might translate for you. So I'm just going to share one of my slides here now. Hold on one second. Yeah. So there's a couple of things just to consider when you're thinking about online courses and how you want to sell things, right? So there's a couple of different things that you can do. I'll just move that along, sorry. Okay, so there's two elements to what you might sell. So one is your live training calls, right? So that is whether you're selling like one-to-one coaching, or you're selling Zoom calls where you get people together. So there's the live element of it, but then there's also the branded courses element where this is non-live. People can go on and access your content at any time. So the local enterprise offices are giving out grants called Trading Online Vouchers, really specifically to help people sell online. So if you're considering going for a Trading Online Voucher, the selling your live coaching calls is one way that you can avail of that Trading Online Voucher. So essentially that you're getting people to go online and book a time slot with you, and you don't have to do anything with them, right? So that it's integrated into a payment system and integrated into a calendar. So that's really, really useful as a coach. So I have it a lot. So every week I go in, update my calendar, and people can book in a time with me, and I don't have to have phone calls with them or anything like that, right? And it's put into my calendar, and it's really, really handy. So it's something to consider in the future that you might want to do. This is Amanda Delaney. She's one of our clients, and she has a combination of direct coaching, so you can go onto your one-to-one coaching with her, but she also has a link that you can go onto her group coaching. So again, she just sends out the link, and then people can go on the book. It's integrated with they're sent automated messages about the Zoom links, all of that. And one of the good things is that there's so many different live calls, webinars, all of that kind of stuff, and they're very unbranded. So it's good to have a branded space where you can actually send people so that they can book on these calls with you. And you can tell a bit about yourself. So the other part is the branded courses part. So I'm just going to show you an example of Barbara Nugent. So she has a business called Emotional Intelligence down in Cork. So this is her page. So she has coaching that you can do directly with her, but she also set up a thing called her 30-day resilient mindset course. So this is a course that she can use with her corporates that they can send their staff on. So she gives a bit of information about herself, but then she really has the information about what is the course and what's involved in it. So for her, there's different elements to it. So like there's 5 topics, there's different things that they can do within each topic. So if you look at sleep, for example, or physical, she has sleep, nutrition, exercise, and environment. She has a combination of things like videos, PDFs, workbooks, quizzes, all that type of stuff, right? So for her, one of the biggest, and the reason that I want to bring this up now for you was one of the biggest barriers that I'm seeing with the clients that we have is they come to us like Barbara, like Sharon Huggard, another coach that just launched hers this week, they came to us and they were like, look, I really want to do an online course. Can you do it with us? And we were like, yes, absolutely. And within 4 or 5 days, we can have their branded platform back to them, right? And they're absolutely thrilled. The thing that is taking ages and ages is them producing the content, okay? So like for Barbara's a brilliant coach down in Cork. Like she's amazing. She's been doing corporate coaching for years. She has all of the material, but she didn't have it in a format that she was going to be able to sell it, right? So if you're doing a webinar on Zoom, for example, like this, and you're the coach, start thinking about how do I record it so that I can use this as an online course later on. If you're producing like content for like, I don't know, like printouts or stuff like that, start thinking like, is this part of an online course that I could sell, so that you start building up this from the get-go so you can actually turn it into an online course, but do it quicker. So you'd be, you know, reducing the amount of time that it would take you. So one of the girls that we have, Sharon Huggard, she's a style coach. So she just launched her online course there last week. But she was able to get it done pretty quickly because she had done a load of talks, recorded them. So she had the material that was really ready at her hands. So if you're thinking that this is something that you might want to do later on, really it's an opportunity for you to be planning this going forward. So one of the recommendations that I would have for you to play around with this is with any online course, you have to have a course hierarchy, okay? So if you think about a resilience course, which like the likes of Barbara has done, there's a framework on which the course hangs, the same way you would do any type of training, which is you have like, these are the 5 modules and these are the lessons within it, or these are the 10 modules, these are the lessons within it. So it would be even for yourselves to, as you're building courses, like whether it's a course that you're building for a Leo or for an individual, even just start mapping out that hierarchy and what the content looks like, because then over time you'll start seeing, actually this is a course that I could really deliver online, but you don't have to keep delivering it, right? So you can just get paid while you're, you know, sleeping or whatever else you might be wanting to do. But it's a really good opportunity for coaches, particularly because we have a limit on how much time we can sell and how much money we can actually potentially make. So that's a really key recommendation I'd have for you to think about. So in summary, I just want to bring up one of the key things. Okay. One second. There. Okay. So at the start, this is what I mentioned. So if you are thinking about marketing your business, this is the framework. This is what you have to play with. These are the levers that you can pull. So picking the target audience is it's the key one. And then after that, it's just making decisions on, how do I make my product, my price, my place? How do I make all of those sing so that my customer is going to be more attracted to buying off me versus any other trainer or coach that is out there? So that is marketing in a nutshell in under 2 hours. So I hope that you found that helpful for you going forward. We obviously work with coaches and all of that on the branded courses, but also on the coaching side as well. So if you do want help on that side of the business, and I think I actually have a thing here on it. So we do, and I can, I think Adrian is going to send out, oh yeah, there's one thing I want to do with you before that actually. So the top tip that I have for you for saving time and money is this, okay? So professional self-plans. Sorry, just 1 second. Okay, so I mentioned at the very start that it was demand, so customers and money that really make a difference. And the third thing was plan. So even if you did very little else other than write, this is my target audience and this is 3 ways that I'm gonna try and reach them about my coaching profession, that is good, right? And it's definitely a starting place for you. And if you are thinking, I don't need a plan, just think professionals all have plans, right? So you wouldn't go to heart surgery with a doctor that didn't have a plan on how he was going to do the procedure, right? Or you wouldn't get on a plane without somebody who had a plan of getting you from here to San Francisco, right? So why would you think, if you're setting out on your business, why would you not think to have a plan? So at the very basic, write down who's my target audience and what are the tools that I'm going to use to reach them. And that's certainly the start of a plan, and then you can build the rest around it. And of course, the A team always had a plan. So, you know, follow their lead. I love it when a plan comes together. So what I'm going to get you to do is, you've heard a lot of information today. So I'm just going to get you to take a minute and write down, what is one action or insight that I'm going to take away from today's session? So if you do need marketing help at some stage in the future, we're more than happy to help you. We've different types of work that we do with people. So from social media coaching to marketing strategy overall coaching to website development, we do all of that type of thing. But I suppose fundamentally what marketing coach is all about is trying to help people get more clarity, feel more creative and feel more confident about their marketing plan. So I hope that today's session helped you with clarity on the structure and what is included in a marketing plan, and the confidence to go, actually, this is really achievable for me. Like, this is stuff that I can do. It's, look, marketing is not rocket science, right? So it's pretty straightforward. So I hope you feel empowered by today's session to go, okay, I can really do this marketing stuff for my business. So today is obviously a celebration of you have finished your course and all of that. So just the best of luck in your.
We've lost the sound, Muireann.
Yeah, we've lost you. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
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 Oh yeah. So no, I was just saying, I hope you you know, it's a great celebration today. It's a pity that you couldn't meet up. But wishing everybody the best of luck with your coaching, whether it's you start now, a year from now, or even 5 years from now. The best of luck and congratulations on your qualifications.
Thank you so much.
Thanks very much.
Thank you very much, Muireann.
Thanks a million, Muireann.
Very enjoyable.
It was brilliant.
It's brilliant. Yeah, it's very informative. Muireann, can I just ask one question?
Yeah.
What's the whole thing with the insurance? Because I know Marion said that they were going to talk about that today, or is it going to do that tomorrow? You know, the indemnity insurance for setting up?
Tomorrow.
Was that tomorrow? Okay, fine.
Yeah, okay.
No problem. Thanks. That was brilliant. Thank you, Muireann. Excellent.
No, Muireann. All right. Take care.
Thank you.
All right, guys. Yeah, I think that was extremely informative. And I know when Muireann did that last month for the other classes, they got a huge amount out of it. And remember, you can contact Muireann at any stage yourselves if you want to do some work with her. So, okay, guys, we're kind of at the end. Oh, Muireann, I take the host off you if that's okay.
Oh yeah, yeah. No problem at all.
Can't find now. Where the hell did I get that? Can you do that for me, Muireann? Muireann? Yeah. Hi. Hello, Muireann.
He's not relinquishing control.
There.
What a nice screen grab though of her. No one, if it was any of us, we'd be like.
He's gone power crazy.
Yeah, you should have it now. Sorry, I didn't.
You really resisted that, didn't you? All right, guys. So look, we're going to finish up now in a couple of minutes, and I hope you got plenty from the 3 presentations today. They are all